I am Sammy Dusch, and this is The Edge. Many people feel the pressures of their own body image intentionally or unintentionally from friends, family, and media. These issues are present especially at the beach and workout gyms, where people believe that a certain ideal view of themselves is needed in that atmosphere. People with eating disorders and body image issues tend to see themselves differently from what others see. The guests are Rachel Puckett and Mrs. Campbell. The topic today is body image issues and eating disorders. I will first be speaking with Rachel Puckett, who has dealt with body image issues. How have people harmed your view about yourself?
Honestly, it's kind of the thing that started it all. Back in elementary school, actually, not even like in high school or middle school, but elementary, I was always like taller and a little bit bigger than everyone, and like people used to call me whale and fat, and like that's kind of how it all started. And since then, like, I don't know, I like whenever I go, like, let's say into like the school bathroom, people are like, oh my gosh, like I look so gross, I look so ugly. If I'm staying there, like if they look gross, like I can't even imagine how I must look, you know? Like it's just a lot of comparisons. Like it's not even not even most times what people do intentionally, but like unintentionally that also affect me too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like tend to not realize what they say like is the effect on someone else, and they try to make themselves feel better.
Exactly.
By like being negative. So what do you think like are phrases a lot that go around the school that people say that unintentionally hurt someone, like especially with body image issues?
I'd say a lot of times like obese or like not like oversized, but I feel like a lot of people maybe use like, I mean, wait, I don't know, like
people say, I don't know, yeah, they do say a lot of different things.
Yeah, there's like so many
a
different
variety.
things, but there's a lot of stuff like outside of just like body issues that like people use that I find really offensive, like outside of body issues, but
and people like I know call people sticks like that are too
oh,
skinny.
that's true. Or like we all heard the famous like Greyhound one, or like burnt French fry. Like it's honestly it's not good. And like I've heard like Oompa Loompa, like this like fat little guy, like I've heard that. I've heard like I said, whale, heard that one a lot of times. There's a lot of different ones, but.
So how do you think like people cannot be so like ignorant or like be so insensitive to it? Like what advice can we give them since like they can't really relate to it?
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of people don't always understand, but I feel like a big part of that is knowing that it's not just like very few people that are just outcasts that have it. It's literally everyone's dealt with body image issues at some point in their life, some worse than others, but it's not just people who are a little bit overweight or people who are super skinny. Like it's not just those people. It affects everyone, whether you think that they're the most beautiful person in the world or not so pretty. Like everyone is affected by it. And that's something that some people need to understand, that like it is hurtful and it's hard to deal with, and it's not just something that you choose to think about, choose to deal with. It's not something that you like want. It's unintentional, and once it's there, it plagues you, and it's very difficult to get it away.
It's very difficult to deal with. Like,
absolutely.
I've dealt with it myself, and I know a lot of people that have. So
it's taken me years and years and years to get things under control again, you know. It's not just something you could snap your fingers and you're okay, or someone compliments you and look, I'm confident. But no, it's something that takes a long time and a lot of self-help almost to get back to normal.
So has like any of your parents like influenced you to like feel that way? Like their negativity towards themselves, has it influenced you, and like how has it?
Definitely. My mom, I love her to pieces. I love her so much, but I always thought that my mom is so beautiful. She's like, I love her so much. And whenever I heard her as like a kid saying like, oh, like, I can't believe how fat I'm getting. Like, I can't believe I've let myself go. And I'm sitting there thinking, but she's beautiful. Like, she's my mom. I love her. And thinking, I don't know, her thinking that, judging herself so critically, it just kind of put the thought process in my head, like, maybe, I don't know, it kind of put that idea into my head of thinking like too critically of myself. Because like even my own mom does it, and I kind of followed by example because I looked up to her so much, and she's a great, amazing person. So it kind of all starts from that. So
yeah, I feel like parents should definitely like be aware of like their children like not being negative like towards themselves, because then it reflects like the kids, you know, that are young, and they shouldn't be thinking about that. So like how do people body shame others less in comparison to the past, do you think?
Honestly, I think like during like social media, there's been a big rise of like body acceptance and like body like having like loving your body and accepting everyone's different types of bodies. I feel like that is great, but there's still a lot of the same stuff going around. A lot of like picking people out, and like even in high school, I still dealt with like a lot of bullying over it. And I don't know, I feel like back in the day used to be just like dumb names and like picking on people, but now it's kind of, it's harsher now.
Yeah, it's more in media too, which is
exactly,
bad.
And it's everywhere, and it's really, really sad what's happened, but I feel like it is getting better with the different movements of like, you know, self-love, and it's great. I love that, and I think it is getting better.
Okay, so how do you, like what advice would you give to people that like are developing a body image issue? Like, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that it does not matter what people think of you, because those people who are judging you, they're not worth your time and attention. They're not worth your opinion or tears. They're not worth it. And if they can't keep to themselves, then that's their problem, you know? Like, no one else can determine your beauty. Nobody can determine that but yourself. And whether a boy you like says something mean, or whether it's your parents or siblings or friends or whoever it is, it's not, they can't determine how beautiful you are. It's yourself. It's all mindset. And I think that's the most important thing, is your mindset.
So how has, how do you turn friends' self-negativity into positivity whenever they bash themselves? Like, how do you react to that?
That's a tough one, because I feel like a lot of it depends on the person, you know? I don't feel like, I've had friends who've had some severe eating disorders, and like saying like, oh no, like you're so beautiful, you're so pretty, that's never like, sure, it's been like nice to hear, but in the long run it doesn't always help them. And at the same time, I hear like a ton of people saying to their friends like, oh, you're too skinny, like you're fine, like you have to eat something, and like you're fine. So that isn't always the way to go. But at the same time, if you're like, oh, you look great, you're so pretty, and like that might be like positive reinforcement for it. So I feel like it's very touchy in my opinion. And I think it all just depends on the person, and just being there for that person, supporting them and helping through the rough times. I think that's the main thing. Okay,
so kind of tying into like so many people, like how do you think people affected by body image issues, how do you think that the media has affected it, like with the Photoshop, like how does it affect teens?
Yeah, so I feel like with media in general, there's always the picture of like the Kardashians, like small waist, big hips. Like I feel like social media has branded a certain type of body or a certain type of look as pretty, and the rest is kind of just, you know. And so I feel like it's tough, because I go on Instagram and I'm just bombarded with all these beautiful women, like, and it's hard like thinking I don't look like them, and I'm probably never going to look like them, and that is difficult. But then again, like you said, there's like I can see like girls like photoshopping their pictures and like sucking things in here and pulling things out there, and it's sad that people feel like they can't be themselves, you know. They can't post a picture of their natural beauty, not without it being contorted or putting a bunch of different filters on or stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, there's like a lot of Photoshop in like social media, which is like I think, really detrimental to young kids.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
to teenagers.
Yeah, and then other people see those edited photos and they get these unrealistic expectations in their head of like how they should look, you know?
And same with men too. Like there's so many like
definitely.
bodybuilders and like I feel like it's like false a lot of the time.
Oh yeah. And like I feel like guys it's almost like guys, they're not allowed to like have body image issues as much as girls. They're kind of just expected to not care about it and like be confident. But I know there are a lot of guys affected by it, and I don't think people really realize that, and I don't think it's as socially acceptable for guys to have body image issues as well. So
yeah, I feel really bad. Like I feel like I know someone who like they don't even want to take their shirt off like at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a lot of guys that deal with it as well.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's not as addressed.
absolutely.
But like, so how do you think, like, if I were to talk to someone who I think is developing a body image issue, like, what should I say to them, like, to try to prevent them from, like, having a false image of themselves?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I would just go up to them and ask them, what's going on? Like, are you okay? And I don't know. And I would just be there for them, you know, like text them, ask them how their day is going, just knowing someone's there for them. I feel like whenever I was getting really bad with mine, I was in one of my loneliest states. And if I would have had like a close friend there that was actually there for me and like helped me through what I was going through, I think I could have avoided so much problems, so many things. And I feel like just being there for someone and just, I think that makes all the difference.
So did you like tell a lot of people about your body image issue, or did you like try to hide it from people?
I try to hide it from people. At the time, it was getting really difficult to be able to get food in me. And I was going to the gym like every single day and just working till I almost pass out. But I try to hide people. I try to hide it from people because I didn't want them to say anything or try to stop me from what I thought was my mission at the time, is to become the better me. I didn't want anyone stopping me from becoming like having the ideal body. So
yeah, and that's like horrible that like I feel like lots of people should know to communicate with others, and I feel like lots of people do hide it.
Absolutely.
Which is like,
yeah, and like sure, a lot of people do hide it, and then after a little bit, people really started to notice and started to step in, and that's whenever I kind of started getting a little bit of the help I needed. And so
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, it's important, I think, for all teens and people to get the help they need.
Absolutely.
And after the commercial break, I'll be talking with Mrs. Campbell.
Here's something we bet you didn't know. Nearly half of all cancers can be prevented. That's right, half. Nearly 50%, mostly by making small everyday changes in your diet and controlling your weight, walking more, eating less, and eating foods that help you and your family to seriously reduce the risk of cancer. And of course, by not smoking. Visit the Cancer Prevention Together We Can website and get a free 30-day planner filled with tips, recipes, stats, and more about protecting your family. Go to prevent50.org.
The second guest of the show is Mrs. Campbell, who is bulimic with anorexic tendencies. So what was a typical day like for you whenever you dealt with your eating disorder?
Well, I would get up, with the kids in school, because I have 2 kids. I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the first thing I would do is go to the gym and run 5 to 7 miles. After I got the kids off to school, I had 3 different gyms that I belonged to and 3 different personal trainers, and I would hit at least 2 of them, and I would work out for another 3 to 4 hours. Then I would go home, get dinner ready, get my house clean, and then I would go back to the gym at night for a couple more hours to finish my workout.
Wow.
So that's what my typical day was.
Okay, so how did you not like reveal it to your kids and like influence them?
Well, my kids are young enough that, and they're impressionable enough at the age that they were when I was fully involved in it, that they didn't realize, they thought all moms were like the way I was, because I didn't eat either. So they would see me not eat and work out a lot, but they thought everybody's mom did that, because I never let on that there was something wrong with me. That's just how I was. So They never noticed. It was just how I was. So it wasn't until Sarah, my daughter, got a little bit older, and she was turning 13. When she turned 13 is when I went into recovery, because I didn't want her to be like me, because it's a very long road. And so that's when I went into recovery, when questions were able to be asked, and she started learning about eating disorders and started putting 2 and 2 together and getting 4, that maybe there was something wrong with me.
So how did you finally accept that you had an eating disorder and you needed help? How did you feel during that?
I knew for a very long time that I needed help. I knew for years and years and years that I had an eating disorder. Accepting help was probably one of the most difficult things I had ever done. It was not easy admitting, it's never easy admitting that your brain is wired incorrectly, because it is a mental illness, and it's a very difficult thing to accept. I was in denial when I was first diagnosed. I was in denial when I went to the hospital. I was in denial for the first 6 weeks at the hospital, and I got kicked out of the hospital because I was not cooperating. And when I went back for a second round of treatment is when I accepted the fact, and that was the turning point when I started to get better.
So how did your husband help you through the whole process?
He just listened. There was nothing, with an eating disorder, there's nothing that other people can really do for you except listen, and make sure that you're staying on your food schedule. And I had to keep myself honest because he worked during the day. My kids were at school, so I was the one who filled out, because you have to keep a food diary when you're in recovery. I was the one who had to fill out exactly what I ate, and I was the one who had to be honest with myself. But he was a good listener, and that's really important when you're going through a recovery process, is you have somebody to bounce ideas off of, to make sure that you are doing what you think you should be doing, because it makes you question everything.
Yeah, whenever people talk to me that have eating disorders or body image issues, I try to listen my best. And it's hard for me because I don't know exactly what to say, because I don't want to hurt their feelings,
And most of the time we understand that you're not trying to hurt our feelings. So if you think that you need to say something, you can always preface it with, please don't take this the wrong way. This is how I'm seeing things. And as long as you do that, they understand, I would understand where you're coming from. All of the questions that you have for me are wonderful questions. None of them are offensive. They're all good. And there's nothing wrong with asking your friends who may have eating disorders the same questions, because it does help them. It makes them think, and maybe not skip that lunch that day or not go to the gym that night. So they're very good questions, and those are good questions to ask.
Okay. So whenever you're around your family, and they offer you food, how do they feel whenever you decline it, in the past?
I never declined food. Having an eating disorder, you're very secretive, and you can manipulate situations to make everything seem normal. You're a really good liar when you have an eating disorder. You can hide everything. Nobody has to know. And I would eat regular meals with people, so nobody would ever know. What I would do, however, is as soon as the meal was over, I'd go work out for 3 hours to get rid of the calories that I ate.
So did your personal trainer ever realize, one of your personal trainers ever realize it and try to help you with your eating disorder, or were you really good at hiding it?
I was really good at hiding it, because I would pick one of them for the day. So I didn't get kicked out of a gym, because once they realize you have an eating disorder, they kick you out, because you become a liability, because you could die, or you could have a heart attack, and that's a liability for a gym. So they don't kick you out. They ask you politely to leave, because you're not safe for yourself or for the other members at that point. So I would rotate the days, and nobody ever knew that I had more than one. The trainers didn't know that I had more than one. My family didn't know that I had more than one.
Wow.
They thought I was all at one place all the time, and that's not what it was.
So you never told anyone about it until when did you actually tell people that you had an eating disorder?
I didn't tell. My husband had an idea. I never said anything to him. My best friend knew. I had told her that I had an eating disorder, but I never did anything about it. People didn't start finding out I had an eating disorder till I actually went to recovery, until I decided that it was time for me to get better.
So did your best friend like help you at all through the
No.
process?
No. It's a very touchy subject, you know, especially because with the bulimia, my choice was to go to the gym instead of practicing the other bulimic behaviors that are out there. And that just made everybody think I was really healthy. You know, because you can go to the gym and you can work out, but nobody sees you not eat, because I didn't eat either. So it just, it's very secretive, very secretive. But they didn't try to help, because there's nothing you can do until that person decides they're ready to go get help.
So what are some like warning signs I can look for if I think someone's like developing an eating disorder?
Quick weight loss. Weight loss happens very, very quickly, especially with your friends, because you're also young and your metabolisms are faster than somebody who's older, like I was when I went into treatment. But extreme weight loss, not eating lunch, they sit with you and they don't eat, or they decide they're going to go eat somewhere else, which means they're not eating at all. They're just walking away. They're hiding so you don't see them not eat. If they start giving their food away at the lunch table, those are, or where they never exercised before, all of a sudden they need to be at a gym. They join a gym and need to be at a gym for 2 hours a day. And those are all signs that something is happening. And hopefully, if you see that, you know, you can say, hey, I'm noticing this stuff. Are you all right? Are you doing okay? Are you healthy? Are you being healthy about it? And if they get very defensive and I'm fine, everything's fine, you can be pretty safely assured that they probably have an eating disorder or heading into one very quickly.
Okay. So why do you think that it's like so popular in teens now for like developing an eating disorder?
Well, I think you guys are under an extreme amount of pressure to be in honors classes and to be in 100 different activities, and you have to be the best in the activity. And nobody is perfect. You can't be perfect all the time. And I think there is such a level of need for perfection. I see the social media and the photoshopping, and people don't look like that in real life. And so when you get down to it, there is nothing left for you to control, because you have to get certain grades so you can go to college, and you have to look a certain way because that's what everybody else looks like. And the only thing that you have control over is what you put in your mouth or how you exercise. And I think that with the way social media is and the pressure that you all are under to perform at high levels at such a young age, sometimes there's nothing else for you to do but to try to control something. And sometimes it's food and how you're going to present yourself to the world.
So do you think, was there like an event in your life that like caused you to develop the eating disorder? Or was it just like, was it from social media like we were talking about, or was it?
Oh, I'm too old for social media. When I was 17, we didn't even have phone. I mean, like, we had regular old-fashioned phones. So no, mine was actually, I had gym class with the football coach, and we did aerobics, and I lost a lot of weight in that gym class, and everybody told me how wonderful I looked. And it made me feel like I was worth something. And so I equated feeling worthy to being very thin. And it happens very gradually. And by the time I realized what had happened, it was too far gone. And I didn't know how to stop it, because it sort of takes over.
Yeah, I bet it was very hard for you, because like it gradually happened and you couldn't really control yourself at that point. So like, how hard was it to like stop that every day, like activity? Like, I guess it was gradual also, like the process. Like, how did you feel during that?
The process for me, and trying to remember that everybody who goes through recovery from an eating disorder does it differently. The process for me was not gradual. the process for me was hold my nose and jump into the ice cold water. Because for me, gradual would have meant that I could stay in my practices longer and my behaviors longer. I was very, very sick from all of the behaviors that I practiced. And when I went in at 43, I wasn't going to live to see 50 if I didn't stop. I didn't have a choice. If I wanted to be here today, I had to stop immediately. Because it does kill you eventually. It wears your body out.
So how did your husband feel whenever you're going through the recovery? Whenever he saw you putting back on weight and starting to maintain a healthier lifestyle? How did he feel?
He thought it was fantastic. He absolutely loved it. I was happier. I laughed. I didn't laugh for years and years and years. And I was laughing, and I was actually enjoying life. And it didn't revolve around a number on a scale or mileage on a treadmill or how many calories I burned that day. It was actually quite freeing to be able to just be like everybody else and just go enjoy my day.
That's really good that you've recovered and you can talk about this today. I really appreciate that you were here to, I know it's uncomfortable sometimes to talk about some things, but it's really good to let teens know and adults know that you're not the only person, and you should reach out and talk to people, instead of hiding it.
Yeah, it's very easy to hide and very hard to talk about. And since I'm so far past the recovery point, it's not as hard to talk about anymore. And I don't mind sharing my story if it can help someone who may be in the position that I was in. And I think that's more important than anything that I ever went through, is maybe somebody will listen and learn something.
Yeah, the main goal, was I'm glad that we can talk about this subject, because it really will help, I think.
I think it's important. It's a very important subject, because the numbers of girls your age keeps going up, and boys.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that the men are starting to have as much of a problem with it as women are. Mm-hmm. And so it's very important to talk about.
Yeah, it's dangerous, honestly.
It is.
People can hide it too.
They hide it very well. It's easy to do. So.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for coming today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for asking me. It was wonderful.
And I hope that today you learned how to aid people that face eating disorders and body image issues on the daily. Also, you should know how to be aware of what to say to anyone on topics regarding food and weight. Thank you, Mrs. Campbell and Rachel, for coming today on The Edge.